Here's what happened. I went on my work walk this morning, and if you don't know what the hell the work walk is, I talked about it in the last episode. For part of today, I listened to the epic wisdom that Mel Robbins shared in her recent podcast episode. And it's inspired me for today's episode because she talks about September, this month, what the changes that are in the air. We got back to school, we got changing of the leaves. It is a time that we're coming in from summer, getting ready for the fall, and we can buckle in for our work tasks. So there's opportunity here for change. And there's a UK survey that she mentioned that states 69% of adults believe it is easier to make small improvements in the month of September than it is to achieve the New Year's resolutions. So I want to talk about a common mistake that we got to avoid in order to achieve these daily goals consistently and prevent burnout. This is Make Burnout Extinct Podcast. I'm Robert David Weeks. So today we have change as the theme. We have these goals as a theme and this mistake. So I'm going to get into what that is. I'll define the term habit for you because it connects. And then I want to share the connection with burnout. And then I will also share my personal story with avoiding this common mistake in my life, which is a mistake I had done for years before realizing what was going on. And then I want to share with you 3 plays that have helped me that I feel could absolutely help you in achieving daily goals consistently. These daily goals, what I'm talking about is the goals for your health. Because we're coming back from summer, you've had that time to recharge. You're in most likely this mindset of work. Let me get these work projects done, work tasks done. I have these big goals. Let me get them done. This is my time before the holidays hit, before family obligations, that family time, the craziness of the holidays. This is the moment. The kids, maybe if you got kids, they're going back to school maybe, or daycare. This is the time. So what can happen is we can get really, really busy. And then what tends to fall off is our goals to support our health. You may have that list. It could be buried somewhere, but you have that list of what you want to focus in on for your health. If that's drinking more water, getting the right nutrition in for your body, breathing deeply so you can get into that parasympathetic nervous system so that you can feel relaxed. Or it could be, I want to work out and create more movement in my day and focus on my strength and my overall fitness. Now, typically what can happen is we can want to put a chunk of time in the morning or a chunk at the end of the day, of the workday, in order to meet those health goals so that we can then turn that into habits. So I want to dive into more of that problem, but first we have to define what a habit is. And this, the guy that I feel when you hear the word habit, his name comes up for me. That is James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, a book I recommend. It is a foundational piece of my work and in my life. So how it's defined for habit, and it's right on one of the first pages. Habit, as I say that, I am not finding it. Here we go. Where is it at? Here we go. Habit. It is a routine or practice performed regularly, an automatic response to a specific situation. Feel like it's autopilot. It's like brushing your teeth. It just is automatic, hopefully for you. So that is a habit. Now, what happens is we got to put in the reps to build a new habit. If you feel you're not good at building habits, just realize you're made up of all of these different habits. There are the habits of either waking up early or sleeping in. It's the habit of either exercising or sitting on the couch. You have these habits there. So it's just a matter of changing the ones or adding ones that you know are going to help you. And in that process is actually going to cause other habits to disappear. And avoiding this common mistake that I want to talk about today can be really helpful in beginning the process of creating habits for your health. And that mistake is thinking you have to have just one set time in the day to focus on your health. If that's either in the morning or at night, But instead, what you could do is actually break that down into smaller time blocks throughout your day to focus on your health. And I'm going to share a way that you can do that that doesn't cause you to step away from your work tasks. It doesn't cause a major disruption in your day, but it just becomes an added bonus in your day that actually, over the course of the day, and if you do this over the course of weeks to months, can improve your life dramatically. I know this firsthand from my own experience, and I want to make sure I'm sharing that with you. And whenever the days happen where I get off this path and I slip up, I do my best to get back on it as fast as possible, because I know that by avoiding this common mistake, it makes a massive difference in how I feel, how I show up to the day, and especially at the end of the day, how I'm feeling. So what can happen, because I want to connect it to burnout, what can happen is if you are throughout your day, the busy, you think about it, you have your busy day, you're waking up, you have these demands at work, in your family, with your relationships, or with your friends. So what can happen is we can have these tensions that build up throughout the day. And that tension can cause us to feel the stress in our body that builds and then doesn't that then releases the cortisol within our body, floods that. And if we have no way of releasing that until the end of the day, it's going to feel like a balloon that pops. Do you know that feeling? Or have you not feeling, but have you heard it with a pop of a balloon where it just makes this like pop sound, super loud? We want to avoid that. And instead, you want to create a slow release of the air in a balloon. So you remember that, where instead of tying up the balloon, you just release it and makes that like, it's like a farting sound that goes out and release. It's a slow release out. That's how I want you to look at this for your goals that you have for your health that are going to turn into these habits. So how we can do this is I go back to working out for me. Working out, back in 2021, I did a video where I documented, it was my first video on this, where I I wanted to document my fitness journey. And I had realized in the video, what sparked it was I went to my brother's house, and he has this gym in his garage, and he has a pull-up bar there. And I remembered I used to be able to do 10 pull-ups. And I went to the bar, grabbed it, and I started to lift myself up. And I couldn't even do one. I barely got like halfway, and I was shaking. My body was shaking. I had to stop. And I was so fucking pissed and frustrated, because this is the guy that played 3 sports in high school, worked out in college, thought I had my fitness still, and turns out I didn't. So I remember getting my phone, and putting the camera on and saying, I was like, I can't believe it. I was just like, I couldn't even do one pull up at my bro's place. So from that point, I wanted to add in working out. And what I started to do was the common mistake. I started to try to chunk it an hour before the work day. I tried that. And what would happen is I would wake up late. It would happen sometimes. And I would be like, oh, I don't have time for this. I got to just get into my work day and get my work task. And so then I would say, I'll get to it tomorrow. How many times have you said that, right? Get to it tomorrow. And then my whole day would go. I would be feeling so tense at the end of the day, feeling frustrated. And I realized on top of this, I didn't work out. And so that created negativity for me. And what started to happen was I was moving towards the red flag of chronic exhaustion, because I have not, like with working out, that's a great way to release stress. And I was having negativity, which is the second red flag, because not only was it tough with the work and getting work done, as we all know, those tasks is a lot of energy and we can feel very tired after that. But then I wasn't even taking care of myself, doing something for me with working out. And so the negativity piled up there. And that felt like I wasn't honoring a commitment that I made to myself. So morning didn't work. Then I tried at night. And I tried that out to have a chunk of time. Well, guess what happens there? You were so tired after the whole entire day that you're not even wanting to get up and work out. You want to just hang out, watch a show, enjoy the time on the couch, hang out with your partner or with yourself, of just being able to chill and go into that vibe so that you can have some time for yourself to get ready for the next day. So, what I ended up doing, which is a little unconventional, but I actually decided, and I'd heard this in a workshop before, of the impact of taking a break, a rest from after you do a work task. So if you can think about it, you have certain work tasks that you want to get done in the day in order to make it a productive day. And I love how I really like this, how Mel puts this with productivity, which is how she defines productivity productivity is about small, consistent moves over time. I vibe with that. It starts small, put in the reps over time. Now, what can happen is, if we think about these work tasks, we have a certain amount of work tasks that we're going to get done. And that when we hit those, then we feel we've had a productive day, which is awesome. Now, what I learned was that if you can have a rest period in between the work tasks, you are going to be able to recharge and be even better at your work for the next work task. So you think about it, it's a rest period. It's like professional athletes, they have moments of rest. I go to football or ice hockey. With football, if you're playing on offense, you're resting when the defense is out on the field. So that's your resting time and you're in the game. And so we think about that for our day is the game. We're going to have to figure out these rest points throughout the day. Well, that can be a fantastic and epic way to add in a goal that you have for your health in that rest period. So what I ended up doing was I ended up making sure after a big work task, let's say I worked for an hour, I would then take 5 minutes to get up from where I was working and walk. I would do my best to get outside. I get my shoes on, go outside for a 5-minute walk, and then come back in. No phone, just going out for the walk. But I'm the guy that wanted to also strength train and focus on pull-ups. Like right now, that doesn't feel like it's working out. But what I remembered, which is an important mindset to have, is that this is a starting point. This is not the end point. I go back to Alex Hormozi quote, where it's now is not forever. We are building. So if you can remember that mindset as you go through this, that's going to be very helpful. So I did that for one of my work tasks, and then for one of my rest periods, and then I came back and focused on the next work task. And then after that, I went out and did another walk for a few more minutes, came on back. And then what I started to happen was I wanted variety. Variety is a need of ours. So after another work task, I ended up actually focusing on posture and getting into some corrective exercises. I had some of these bands, like, those workout bands that you have. I grabbed one of those and looked up on YouTube a posture exercise and got one from Jeff Cavalier with Athlete X. Started doing that. That was 5 minutes. And then I tried another one for the next rest period. And then all of a sudden, let's say that was day 1. Day 2, I was like, well, let me start doing some strength training instead. So I would literally, after a work task, I go and I had 15-pound weights. I'd grab 15-pound weights and I'd start lifting them. And if you don't have those weights, you could just grab a water bottle and lift them. Anything for creating strength training, like anything that you have around, it could be books that you try. And then I was doing that for a few minutes for my rest period. And then I went back to the work tasks. And after that, I took another rest period and another rest period and another rest period. And you're starting to see the pattern here of these rest periods. And what would happen is I would accumulate what would be potentially 2 hours of me time. But it was throughout the day focusing in on my health. And what that then did for me was, in each of those rest periods, that's a moment to release the tension. Go back to the balloon. It's the slow release of the balloon. so that by the end of the day, I'm not having to pop this balloon of energy and have this dramatic shift in my energy where all of a sudden it becomes a lot harder to show up the next day. So what you can do from this is to take 3 plays that I'm going to share with you that could become part of your rest periods, where your me time, you can think about it as this is your me time after a work task. I'll share 3 with you that have been helpful for me that can make a big difference. The first one that I want to share with you is shake it out. It's a simple shake it out. You can think of dancing to a song. This is something from my friend Carrie that is really helpful for the nervous system, is dancing to your favorite song and shaking it out. Not only is it a Taylor Swift song, Shake It Off, but I think of golden retrievers. I had 2 golden retrievers growing up as a kid. Max and Nage were their names. And Max and Nage, what they both would do is they would shake. And it would be when in those stress responses, and looking it up online, it's a response that dogs do for stress, is they shake it on out. So you can get into you can imagine yourself as a dog and just shake out the body. Do that for a song. And then with that, you might throw in a few dance moves here and there. But that could be a way to have me time after your work tasks. And let's say you're in an office space with other people. I mean, you can go outside and shake it off, or you can just shake off your hands. Like you can just move your hands back and forth, rock your shoulders back and forth. If you're in an office, close the door, like go to the bathroom and go in the stall and do it there. There are so many different ways that you could just shake it off for a few minutes and then get back into the work task. And that's one way to be able to break it up and allow yourself to release that stress. And with movement, it goes back to 2 things that are supporting your health with movement. One, it is helping you to get to the point where you are going to increase your mitochondria production. It's going to make your mitochondria more efficient with movement. And number 2 is you're moving towards meeting your 20 minutes a day of aerobic exercise for your health. And we've talked about that before for those health guidelines. So that is one play that you can try out and give it a shot. The other one that I want to share with you is a form of exercise. So going off of the movement of shaking it off, you could take the time. Some of the things I have done was walking, the posture corrective exercises, or the strength training. And we tend to want to be perfect in how we do these things, but consistency doesn't give a shit about being perfect. What it cares about is you showing up and doing this. And so you got to remember that perfection doesn't exist, and you don't need that with staying consistent. So what you can do is you can just get up and go for the walk outside after your work task for 5 minutes and then come back. For the posture corrective exercises, grab that band if you got that band and try it out. There's a few that you could do without a band. You could just literally stand up and have one of your hands be like a string, and you just draw your hands up over your head and just focus on your posture that way. And then with the strength training, you could use weights if you got weights around, or you could use books, or you could use a basket, or your water bottles. It could be different for how you focus on strength training. But by creating a form of exercise, by doing a form of exercise, you are going to be able to release your stress. It's going to be, again, that balloon, letting the air out slightly. And then you can get back into your work task and be able to feel a sense of recharge to get into it. The third play I want to share with you is deep breathing. So this supports you with getting into a parasympathetic nervous system, or parasympathetic state for the nervous system, which means you're in a rest and digest. You're in a relaxed state. And with deep breathing, it feels fucking great to be able to do this. So there's different ways that you could do deep breathing. You could just look it up on YouTube, type in some deep breathing. 2 recommendations I have that I'm using. One is earth breath. This is from my friend Zach Campa, where what you do, it's a fancy way of just saying breathe in through your nose. You can put one hand on your stomach so you can focus from breathing from your stomach, and then you release it out through the mouth. Let it all the way out. And then just repeat that a few times. That could be 3 to 5 times. Try that out. The other one that I've been doing, it is I believe it's like a 5-7-7 or 5-7-8 or 4-7-8, something like that. What I'll do is I will inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and then release out for 8. And you're releasing that out somewhere around 8. And you can do that for 3 to 5 times, and you will notice a difference. It can be slight, but you'll still notice that. And that is a way to allow the body to rest for a few minutes. And because you can do that, like the breathing, you can do that for, let's say, if you do a 3 to 5, you just do that, and then you can just relax and go to your normal breathing. But initiating that will then allow the body to rest for the remainder of the time. And then you get back into the work tasks and focus on the next one to check it off. So when we can remember these rest periods throughout our work tasks and realize that you're not going to be perfect when you get started in this thing. So you may have one time for you may be able to do me time for after one work task, but then you just may continue to focus in on these next 2 work tasks and just do them back to back. And you may be like, shit, fuck, I forgot about that thing of the me time. That's okay. Guess what? You have another day to reset, or you have another work task to reset. That's the beautiful gift of this thing. It is small moments of time, these rest periods throughout the day, to be able to come back to it. And when you are doing it that way, then you speed up the amount of reps that you're doing. And when you speed up the amount of reps you are doing, these small changes make a big difference. Because I go back to Atomic Habits and this book, where there's this quote here in it that I'm going to share, where it is, let me get to it. Here's how the math works out. If you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done, which is a massive amount of growth that can happen. And it's in these small improvements that you make throughout your day with focusing on your health that allows for these to turn into habits faster because you have more repetition. And instead of just having one opportunity each day to make it happen, you have many. So I want to remind you that you are absolutely capable of being able to do this, to just take a few minutes after your work task for you. What this is going to do, and I know it's an urge that's really hard because we have this people pleasing, or we feel this obligation to get back to the next work task, or continue to push ourselves harder and harder and harder because we feel like that is the way. I want to remind you that a professional athlete has moments of rest, of these rest periods in the game, in the most highly pressured situation. They still have rest periods. So you can have rest periods too for your workday and have this me time. So to recap, for the 3 plays, this is going to be after your work task. You can do the deep breathing, you can shake it out, and you can have a form of exercise. So for these next few days, which of these plays are you going to try out? And to remember that you are so capable of starting small, and from there, building by putting up the reps into big change and impact in your life. If you like this episode, please don't forget to rate this podcast to help get this message out of Make Burnout Extinct. And you can share what resonates with you from this episode by connecting with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. I don't take that for granted. And I want to remind you that you have so much strength within you, so much potential, so much capability there. It's just waiting to be unleashed. I'm excited to be able to reconnect again soon.